from here is Salisbury. It's well-loved MP is RobertKey. He is a very, very suitable figure to close this meeting. At the moment, thank you. At the moment, Mr. Key is a member of the Defence Select Committee, but he has, in his long political career, and if you look at his website, you'll find some more about it, been interested in science and technology, international affairs, transport, national heritage, the environment and energy. Could there be, therefore, a more suitable person to make the closing remarks to our conference and talk to you about the political imperative, getting it done? Thank you, Mr. Key.
Thank you, Bob, very much indeed. You know, I think one of the most important things about this symposium has been the average age. It's much lower than you might have expected. And it's really good to see so many, well, to me, very young people here in their 20s. No, seriously, that is so important. Because often you can go to scientific groups and enthusiastic amateurs, and they're all recently retired, affluent, time to spare, indulging themselves in their favourite hobby. This is serious, deadly serious, and it's attracting people from different countries, of different age groups, and different academic disciplines and none. So that's tremendous, and I congratulate you. Now, Paul Marchant, with his masterly statistical presentation, reminded me, of course, that there's lies, damned lies, and statistics. And when I had a proper job, I was an economics teacher for 16 years before I was a politician. And I always used to remind people of what George Bernard Shaw said about economists. You could lay all the economists end to end and they still wouldn't reach a conclusion. Anyway, my motivation for changing jobs from economist to politician was anger. It was anger at what the politicians were failing to do to run my country. That was in 1974, and some of you may remember it and what it was like then. And so on the principle, if you can't beat them, join them, I decided to get involved in politics, and here I am. Now, what this really is all about is this report from the House of Commons Select Committee on Science and Technology, of which I was a member. And that motivated me very strongly. It reminded me of my passion for astronomy, for the sky, for our heritage, and it involved me in some 3 months of taking evidence with the committee on listening to astronomers and statisticians and to Bob Misen and many other people to produce a report. And we wanted to ask some questions. And the first question that we wanted to ask was, what is the impact on UK astronomy of light pollution? Is there any impact, or is it just Bob again? And so that was the first question that we wanted to know. Then we wanted to know, are planning controls strong enough? Because in the end, if you're going to make anything happen, you've got to have somebody at government level having government national policies, but they're all going to be implemented not by civil servants and politicians in Whitehall, but by all local planning authorities across the country. And not only have you got strong enough ones, but are they applied and are they enforced? Or do they just go by default because no one's remotely interested in light pollution? So we wanted to know that. And then we also needed to know, can you measure light in a way that makes it possible to legally enforce anything at all? Because if you can't, well, hang on a minute, the only people who will benefit, as usual, are the liars. So we wanted to know the answer to that. And then we wanted to know, do we need more controls on lighting design with British standards and so on? Well, off we went then to work. And we discovered that, first of all, there were no world-class optical telescopes in the UK. Some very fine telescopes. We spent a wonderful night at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich with the Astronomy Royal, seeing the equipment, the very old equipment that they have there, which is still absolutely superb. Just one problem, of course. The Royal Observatory in Greenwich is about 1 mile from Canary Wharf. And if you turn your back away from the observatory and look at Canary Wharf, it's lit up like 1,000 Christmas trees. And all the light pollution in the City of London, even at midnight, is utterly horrendous and pointless, but there we go, that's another story. Well, we may not have any world-class optical telescopes, but the taxpayers are still forking out an awful lot of money, and they're forking out money to use other people's telescopes. 50 million quid on operational telescopes in Australia, Nepal, Hawaii and Chile. So, couldn't we spend 50 quid better in this country? And in fact, couldn't we perhaps tackle it through looking at light pollution? Another thing we learned was just how important amateur astronomy is. Now, people don't usually rate this, and I've given some examples there. Obviously, this will be familiar to you. Most people haven't got a clue that the professional astronomers depend upon thousands and thousands of amateur astronomers actually doing a lot of the donkey work and collecting the statistics and scanning the whole night away. You know all about that anyway. But we didn't know about that, but we found it out. And then we were shocked by this little statistic here. The Milky Way is only visible from 30% of the United Kingdom on a good night. Now, when I was a kid, that wasn't a problem. And I was brought up to look at the Milky Way. And at night in the winter in Salisbury, which is my hometown, you could look up at the stars, and my dad used to go out and try and explain to me what the stars were and all of that. And the Milky Way was a tremendously important feature. And when we went on holiday to Scotland, there was Aurora Borealis. Now that was my childhood. Hey, sorry, not now, I'm 61. And kids today haven't got a chance. And it's not just the UK. If you fly across Europe at night, as some of us do just in the course of work, it's from one end of Europe to the other. There are great swathes of darkness, which is wonderful, but for most of industrialised Europe, it's pollution all the way. Then we also realise that children need to study the night sky live. You can do it on a computer link, but there is no substitute for going outdoors and looking up at the night sky and having it explained to you. That is a very, very important imperative. It's important for all sorts of reasons. But one of the main reasons is that space study encourages science in schools. Now, it's a very strange thing, but I know it's true of me when I was 10. I know it's true of my children when they were 10. But when you're about 10, you're absolutely gripped by space and dinosaurs. Those are the two things. Ask any teacher or parent. Children of 10, space and dinosaurs. Fantastic. Hey, time of the 13, they've been switched right off. They're not interested in science anymore. It's too difficult. And who, faced with the choice when you're 16 between spending hours and hours in a laboratory doing A-level physics and chemistry and biology, or alternatively, dare I say it, media studies. Hey, anyone in their right mind will go to media studies. It's just so much easier. We've got to stop all that. We've got to encourage our young people. So then we move on. We made recommendations in our report to the government. And what we said was, first of all, you need to update lighting guidelines for roads. That was absolutely clear from the evidence we took. Common Select Committees are very interesting organisations. Every government department is shadowed by a select committee. The select committees are powerful. We can subpoena anybody to come. That means we can force them by law to come and answer our questions, ministers included, civil servants included. Sometimes we argue about who does what. Sometimes, if it's like the Ministry of Defence, you have to agree it'll be in secret, all sorts of things. But nevertheless, we thought this is absolutely crucial to update the lighting guidelines. We said too there needed to be new planning rules, and light trespass needed to be a statutory nuisance, like smell or dirty water or whatever it is, because the voluntary principle simply doesn't work. Then we said there should be special protection around observatories. Pretty obvious, but there isn't any special protection around our observatories. And then we said it's perfectly clear too that sky glare and glare affects us all and lowers the quality of life, as we've seen from earlier speakers, and we need to take international action on vapour travels. So those are just the main points of what we said to the government. What was the government response?